I'm Andrew Millen, and you're listening to the Celtic Soul podcast, and you're all very welcome back. And my God, have we got stuff to talk about today. My guest on the show will be Jim Reilly. Jim was born in Coatbridge and now lives the other side of the world in Sydney and is president of the Sydney Celtic Supporters Club. This episode has been kindly sponsored by Ottawa Shore in Dundalk. Thanks very much to Owen McGuinness for all the continued support of both the fanzine and now the podcast. We will post up Ottawa Shore's details and links in the podcast description. If your business or Celtic Supporters Club like what we're doing with the podcast and would love to become a sponsor, we would love you to become a sponsor. Email us at info@celticfanzine.com for more information, and as always you can contact us through the website or message us on social media. Now Ronan, our long-suffering producer, is fascinated by the podcast and the analytics and in particular where people are listening to around the world. So now at Ronan's request, we are asking you to get in contact with us and let us know who you are and where you are listening from. As I said, we've got listeners from all around the globe. Who's listening in Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi.
So who's our listeners in Abu Dhabi? I'm struggling to pronounce that, folks. And this one's going to get better. In Angola, in a place called Luanda. Or who's our listeners in Johannesburg in South Africa? Please get in contact with us. What's your connection with Celtic? Let us know your story. We want to hear what's going on. And we're delighted that we have listeners all over the world. Oh, dearie me. How do we get to this stage? How is the Celtic support so divided? It's all about who's going to lead the team on and off the park, isn't it? Who's going to take us further? I tell you, it's toxic on social media. It's toxic viewing. It's toxic reading. I've seen good mates fall out because of the love of Celtic. You know, over what way we move forward at the club. I suppose we're all missing Celtic. We're all missing that match day fix and what goes with it. On Sunday night, the club released a statement. And look, if it's true, you couldn't argue with it. But I'm not really going to comment on it because I wasn't at the ground that night. I've seen the odd video, I've seen a few pictures, but over the years I've learned not to trust the media or reprint or share the comments, you know, and I certainly won't be cutting and pasting the stuff that's in the tabloids and putting it up. We've now got Sky Sports coming out saying that, you know, the police are investigating, and that's always going to happen when there's a disturbance, whether it's in the city centre, whether it's around the football ground or it's a domestic in a house. Things have to be investigated. But of course, we've had headlines like riot. I don't know what riot they've ever been at, but I tell you one thing, that was not a riot the other night. But it's maybe not the way forward. Peaceful protest is the way forward. Yeah, by all means protest. Don't give the media and our opposition supporters a chance to ridicule us. Like most fans, I'm confused and dazed. The lack of clarity from the board about the current situation at the club is not going to go away. Leaks to the press don't cut it. COVID-19 has stripped us of normality in our lives. We're not able to attend games. It's a massive frustration. As I said, important things are missing this season. Your regular football fix, the points in the pub with your mates, the sing-song, the passion, the emotion. That emotion that is driven by 90 minutes, backing your team, bringing the highs of winning and the lows of defeat. But you're never alone. You've always got your mates and they've always got your back. At this stage, I hope Neil Lennon decides that he's had enough and moves on with his life, because I don't see any of these players having his back. I'm no football expert, I'm just a fan, so sharing my opinion on coaching on the training pitch, sports science, relaxation rooms or the instructions in the dressing room will be pointless. I can only go on Neil Lennon's achievements at Celtic, and they are impressive. 20 major medals as a player and a manager. His legacy at the club is secured, no matter what happens now, no matter what anyone thinks. I thought Neil and the team had it in them to go on a run in December, but on Sunday's performance, I think maybe not. Maybe I'm just blind because I love the club like so many, but I lay in bed Sunday night, and I suppose I was in a state of shock, but I couldn't help wondering the thoughts that must be going through Neil Lennon's head. Not Neil Lennon the manager, but Neil Lennon the person. When enemies turn on you, it's easier to deal with because you expect it. That's life. But when it's your own that turn on you, it must be so hard. After all, we're all human. We have emotions, we have feelings. And no matter how hard Neil Lennon looks outside or on the field of play, he feels it too. It's a shame, but love has torn us apart. Jim Reilly is a Celtic fan from Coatbridge, but he now lives across the world in Sydney. And for the past 8 years, he has been president of the Sydney City Celtic Supporters Club. Hello, Jim. You're very welcome to the Celtic Soul podcast. The last time we spoke was in Thailand at the Land of Smiles Supporters Festival. when you were leaving to get back to Australia as the world started to go into lockdown. How has life been since those days?
Hello, Dan. Andrew, how are you? It's been good. Work's been a bit slow. We had the lockdown, but obviously we had to get in the lockdown. We came back, and we seem to have turned the corner here in Australia with the lockdowns and stuff. We've sort of moved on, and I'm off work for a bit here as it is. I've had the operation on my knee, and I'm just taking the time off. That's it.
Well, we wish you a speedy recovery, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
I've seen you dancing, so you're no loss to the dancing world anyway.
Well, I wouldn't imagine so.
So I have seen posts from Australia where the supporters clubs are meeting, and I have to say, I envy you because we're in lockdown. There'll be no bars open here before Christmas or the New Year, and I'm missing the interaction with my fellow supporters from the supporters club first, and then even before we go to Glasgow. You know, we've got a WhatsApp group as the nearest thing we have to the supporters bus or the supporters pub. And I just think that maybe that's why social media is just so toxic at the moment, because we've no game to go to the vent our anger, and we've no mates to sit and discuss the game with and have the crack. And,
yeah.
But you have that. You're now back, aren't you, Jim, back watching the game?
Yeah, we're back, but the pub where we watch the games in, it's all limited numbers still, the 4 square metres rule and stuff like that. But generally, we'll get every game played. Every game is played, we can watch it live. No matter what time of the night or the morning, we see every game. And that's a big thing. And we do get a hardcore of guys that turn up every game. You know, guys will travel for an hour to come and watch it, sit in the pub, leave the pub at 3 a.m, sit in the bus for an hour and 20 minutes to go home. You know, just stuff like that. So we do have we've got a good crowd that comes in and watches the games. And it is hard for people because it's a lot easier for people now. They get Celtic TV, they've got the stream things, and it's hard enough trying to get people in the pub without all these different outlets showing the games.
How important, Jim, is it that a supporters club like your own, people come together to watch the games?
To be fair, we've been going, and you do get the same amount, but this year, you get the same amount of people turning up every year, and the big games, it's the same. But now we're getting more and more. We're getting a lot of younger people. They're passing, they're travelling, they're joining, and they're hanging about. And again, because the pubs are limited, it's a big thing to come and sit and watch a Celtic game. Like if you're playing Rangers or whatever, or we've got a cup final in a couple of weeks' time, that'll be a big night for us in the club. And it's a Sunday night here. I think the game kicks off at like 1 o'clock the Monday morning, or I just can't remember, but it's going to be a Monday morning kick-off for us. So there will be a decent crowd. Maybe not as much as like a Celtic and Rangers game, but it's because people got work on the Monday. If it was a Saturday, Sunday morning, it would be ideal. But you just take it how it comes.
So like your members are getting together to watch the games, and then basically because of the times, just paint the picture. So an afternoon game is like yesterday's game was 1 o'clock in the morning over there.
1 o'clock in the morning here, yeah.
So then say our latest evening games, Europa 8 o'clock game. That's what time
7
you
in the
watching?
morning.
So you're watching 7 in the morning. And then people have to go to work. So it's not exactly ideal.
No, it's stupid o'clock times. Like, and if it's a 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning for us. So, and it's very hard to like go out at like 12 o'clock and not have a couple of beers before it. So you tend to meet people before it, go to the pub, get the flags up, and it's now 2 o'clock. And it's a hard thing, you know. But they generally get a good crowd, decent crowds in.
Yeah, but it's a very important thing. It seems to be, Jim, from speaking to you before.
It's a social thing for a lot of people, meeting other like-minded people.
And you said, you get people that are travelling through.
Yeah. One of the members, well, you know who, Brian will drive up, maybe a 2-hour drive to come and watch
McAvoy.
Brian McAvoy, yeah. Brian will literally a 2 hours drive more. He might stay in the city. Sometimes he'll drive back home. Depends what he's up to.
It's a lot of commitment, and fair play to him but I'm in a supporters club and I know the importance. It would be easier for me probably to travel on my own now with cheap airfares and that, but I still want to be part of the club, not only for that as well, but for us over here, Jim, the bigger your club is, the more chance you have of tickets, the more season books.
Correct, yeah.
And the more chance you have of kind of, giving a fair shout out to everyone that wants to go to away games. But anyway, when I had to talk about my supporters club, Jim, give us a bit of the history of your supporters club, when it was founded, membership.
The club was started in 1982, and I think they had the first meeting the 25th of May, funny enough, 1982, and it's nearly 38 years old, nearly 39 years old. And at this moment in time, we've got over 140 members, which is the most we've ever had, which is good for us because Sydney being such a transient town, people come, join up, get the T-shirt, and you never see them again. So, I mean, we do a lot of things for the members. We have nights out, we have barbecues, we have boat trips, because you've got to try and keep it alive, keep everybody interested. And that's a hard thing. And sometimes it's hard because people have got other things. Sydney's a big place, and if you've got a barbecue, you've tried to hit the numbers for it. They've got to try and engage. You'll tell people, "Oh, we'll turn up," and you try to work out how much food, how much drink to get. And if nobody turns up, it's it's a bit of a bummer. But generally, we do all right. The boat cruises are probably one of the biggest highlights here because it's such a great day, and I've got 100 people on a boat, and it's just absolute madness, but it's good.
Yeah, I've heard about the famous cruise. Mark Gaynor, a lad that was walking over there, he joined up with us, but he said that the club was great value. He said, you got T-shirts, you got this boat cruise, and I have to say it's on my bucket list.
Oh, you've definitely come over somehow. You'd enjoy it. It's only the travelling.
I've been on buses going to Europe for longer.
Probably, aye.
Now, Jim, firstly, your thoughts on Sunday's game.
Oh my goodness, where do you want to start? I can't see. I see we're in a rut. I think personally we're in a rut. And I thought we started all right, but we're making basic mistakes. For footballers, it's basic mistakes. They're getting paid handsomely to play their trade. And I think that absolutely some of the passing, the thinking. I actually saw it was Scott Brown yesterday, and he's one of the most experienced players we've got. He kicked the ball out the park for a pass. And it was just, to me, it's not acceptable when they're in such a position. And once it went 2-0, it was just, they just seem a bit all over the shop. Me personally, I would play a 4-4-2 every game, no matter who your opposition is. So if you're playing one up front, I always think it gives too much for the forward to do, and always try to play off them. And if you play two up front, my idea is play two up front, you've always got two defenders watching them, and then you can bring your wing backs in. But the game yesterday was just a disaster, absolute disaster. Then the aftermath itself was just a total. That's not on. But we're out the cup. But as I said to some of the boys, you can't win every game. You can't win every cup you go. It's got to end somewhere. And unfortunately, it ended yesterday.
Yeah, it was a remarkable record, and we all knew it would come to an end at some stage. I suppose there may be fans that I thought it wouldn't, but we're old enough to know that it's not always rosy in the garden when you're a Celtic fan. Jim, just a couple of points there, and one you make with the two up top. George McCluskey, George knows a thing or two about playing up top for Celtic, and he had said on the podcast recently that Big Eddie, he said he's not an striker, so that was it, and he would, I think George would prefer if he played up front as well with someone. I think the players yesterday, there was a time during the game I thought, I normally am very animated in the sitting room, and I hate watching the telly, watching the games on my own at home, but because I'm lucky enough that I can get to the stadium for most games. And but I found myself yesterday, I was a totally different, I suppose, supporter. I sat in silence because it looked at times that the players had never played together again. And you wouldn't have heard it over there, I don't think, because I think you would get the games through Celtic TV.
Yes, that one.
Well, I watched the game on Premier Sports. It was part of the virtual season book, but I watched it on Premier Sports. And Alan Stubbs basically said, he said, the manager will go, the manager will be blamed, and the buck stops with the manager. But he said, it's a bigger picture here, he says. And he basically said the players weren't playing for Neil Lennon. But he said, if they're not playing for Neil Lennon, they should be playing for the jersey. They should be playing for the fans. And I can understand fans gathering yesterday to show their anger. Now, how they showed their anger, I disagree with. People have the right to protest, but I don't think that anything would have been achieved by it yesterday. I think if people wanted Neil Lennon to go, I think there probably would have been a bigger chance if there hadn't been a protest yesterday, because I don't see people like Dermot Desmond, our major shareholder, or Peter Lowell, or board members. They can now say, well, if we get rid of him now, it's mob rule. And if we get another manager in and it doesn't work, well, what if they protest again? Do we have to sack that manager? So I just think it's a very, very tricky situation to deal with now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Personally, I think Lennon will stay. I just have a feeling he'll stay. I don't think, as you say, Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond, I don't think they're going to pull the pin on him just because of this one result. No, I think what will happen, they'll give him a chance to Christmas or after the Rangers game. And if there's nothing happening there, then, because 10 in a row will be well gone, there's still a slim chance 10 in a row can happen. It's not out of possibilities that we can do it. There's only a couple of games behind, and then it's going to be more games. Once the cup final, they'll drop another game. It'll be 3 games we need to try and play catch up with. But I don't think he'll go. And I just think, as you say, everybody can have a protest, but doing it the way they did it was just, it's not nice to see, especially for your team.
Well, Jim, I just want to say, like we went there, right? So what we're seeing is the media is always going to sensationalise it. And I suppose some of our own fan media websites are guilty of that as well. But I just think that the little bits I did see, I've seen riots. These weren't riots. Yeah. This was a group of fans disgruntled, shaking a few barriers. I'm told there was abuse thrown at Lennon. I'm told there was abuse thrown at Lawwell. And I'm told that there was abuse thrown towards the players. I don't know. I can't, for the little snippets I've seen. And so I don't really want to get into the if, buts, and maybes of what was done or what wasn't done. But it doesn't look good. As a fan, I'm saddened, Jim. I'm saddened that we're divided. And this divide is in families, friends, supporters clubs. Yeah. And it just, but I've always said everyone's entitled to an opinion. An opinion should be respected.
Yeah, 100%. There's boys in the club think Lennon should go. They blame Peter Lawwell. They blame John Kennedy. They're blaming everybody. But at the end of the day, everybody's opinion counts. But the way after the game last night, that was just, to me, that was wrong. It just made me feel a bit sick watching it and seeing the clips coming in. I know, as you say, clips can be shown from a different angle and look worse than they really are. But you're reading the papers, a policeman injured, and they were throwing things at the players' cars as they're driving out, which is wrong.
Yeah,
and that can't be. That's not acceptable in any society.
Yeah, well, look, the board released a statement last night, and you couldn't disagree with what the board said about what we've won and what's happening outside the stadium. But at the same time, they have to hold a hand up and say, we have not communicated with the fans. Neil Lennon has had to come out and say, we've backed them. Instead of us coming out and saying, and this is why we're backing them, and this is where, if we're not within touching distance of Rangers, we're going to consider changing it in January. And then we have a picture of the blueprint. But it just seems to me, since Brendan Rodgers fell out with Peter Lawwell, or when that relationship became toxic, we're told it's a player that Brendan went to sign and Peter didn't get it over the line. We're told that Brendan was getting too much power at the club and Peter didn't like it. Now, we don't know how true these things are, but if they come out, rather than putting a statement out on the website saying thank you, but no thank you, if they came out and told us, like, it's not too long ago, Peter Lawwell was going around with Neil Lennon in his first term to support his clubs, so they would buy supporters, or so they would buy season books and support the club. And there was open debates there. I remember a very open debate in Dublin about the poppy on the jersey. The poppy's no longer on the jersey.
Yeah,
the club still donate to the poppy fund, but it's no longer on the jersey. So there's debate. There was a conversation that was had, and something came out of it. No, Jim, we just seem to have nothing. Silence.
Yeah, what I see all the time now is, as we spoke earlier, it seems to be Neil Lennon doing all the talking. You're not hearing from anybody above him. He's talking for everybody, for the players, for himself, and for the boardroom. That is the board members. Somebody's got to come out and say to them, like, he's either getting backed or he's not getting backed. I just think personally, he's talking. He goes into the press conferences and he's getting asked 100 questions about this one and that one, and he's left to talk about things that probably really should be talked about. Like who they're signing and all that. He's got to be into these, like the board, like Peter Lawwell and Dermot. They've got to take part of the blame somewhere, because it's all one-way traffic and it's Lennon, and he gets it. He's getting all the time in the head. He's getting shot. No matter what he says or does, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
And without going over old ground, Jim, for Neil Lennon to have to come out and defend the club's COVID-19 policy when he's not, a scientist and he's not a doctor, and we have a medical team at the park, and I wouldn't say it was an argument, but I was commenting on social media with someone last night, and they were kind of saying, why have we a beef with the board? And kind of said, this is why there's a beef, and they come back and, to and fro. And But there was no name calling. It was decent debate.
Civilized.
Yeah, civilized. Yeah, but which is not a lot at the moment.
No, not very often.
He was making a point that clubs don't give blueprints. Club directors, and he was using big companies that weren't football clubs. Now, for me, you can't. Celtic Football Club is different than a telecoms company. Celtic Football Club, although it's a public limited company, it's also a football club, and it's the heartbeat of a community. Or we wouldn't be on here talking about it. I don't see many podcasts about,
BT,
telecom companies,
Exactly.
And I suppose without boring the pants out of people, you look at Sky Sports News, and every day you put it on, there's a chairman on talking about, how the club needs fans back, why they can't operate under these, they need X amount to operate. And, some of these clubs are from the lower divisions in England. We've had club chairman on radio stations in Scotland from lower division teams, explaining, how why they voted for the season to finish, why they didn't. You don't really have anyone from Celtic coming on saying, this is why we voted for this. This is why we're voting for this. And that without dialogue and without conversation, people will make their own minds up and say, well, it must be because of this and it must be because of that. And social media then becomes toxic.
Yeah, because people put 2 and 2 and they get 6. They add 2 and 2 together. They've got their own opinions. And their opinions could be 100 miles off the mark, but they still think they're right.
They may have the facts that we don't have. They may have someone that has told them. They may have someone within the camp.
And somebody blow them down. Somebody blow them out of the water with another fact. That's happens all the time.
But one thing for sure, Jim, is I think for Neil's health and for himself that he should go, because those players do not want to play for Neil.
Yes,
proved it, and he's tried systems, he's tried rotation, and I don't buy in that Neil Lennon isn't a good coach, because when he was at Hibs, he was able to put up great performances against Celtic, and he's probably the toughest opponents we had when Brendan was manager. He was the manager in charge when we beat Barcelona. He was the manager in charge last year when we beat Lazio twice.
You can't disregard these facts. These are facts. These are things people have made up on social media. They're black and white.
He's got a drawer full of medals as a player and a manager at the club. But I just hope for him that he does go, because from a personal point of view, I don't think anyone deserves the stick he's getting. And people are now having a go at everything he says at a press conference and that. And to me, it just seems that he cuts a lonely figure in the dugout. I don't believe the coaches are people that he trusts. I could be wrong. But when he had his own boys in the dugout,
a lot more talking. There's a lot more talking in the dugout.
Like if you can trust someone to have your back, but if you can't trust someone to have your back, well then your confidence is going to be shattered. And I said to Jim off record before we started, that I was awake this morning at 2 a.m. and I was just thinking about how Lennon would be feeling lying awake at 2 a.m. because I'm a fan. And I'm just so. I don't know. I was just so depressed last night because I don't want to be fighting with fellow fans. I don't want to see this. I want us united. And
no, you can have healthy discussion, but you don't need to get personal and abuse people. That's the thing that I can't really get. Yeah. And the thing last week when they put the banner up, Green Brigade put a banner up. That was out of order, no matter how you look at it. You don't need to be turning up for your work and there's a banner telling you to get out. Most people would have turned on their heels when that happened. You know that. A lot of people have turned on their heels. I don't need this. I mean, I can go and sit in the house. I mean, he's probably made a bit of money over the years, and the last time you want to see you going to work, nobody want you. It's not. I know they don't speak for everybody, but it's still not a nice thing to see. And then it goes all over social media, all over the papers. Then it goes all, before you know it, it's down south. It's all over the world, everywhere. Social media, in an instant, it's all around the world.
Yeah, well, the Green Brigade have never said that they speak for anyone, and I appreciate that. And I know it's a small enough group. I know there's a lot of hangers on and that, but the Green Brigade is a small enough group. I don't know how they come up with, they've a voting system, or But
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they have because they've got left wing views. But I had no problem with the banner. I had no problem with people putting a banner up. I had no problem with people protesting. But the problem I had was that they singled out Lennon when he's only part of the problem. I thought by all means put a banner up and say we need change in that. But then that's only my opinion, and the boys are entitled to their opinion, and that doesn't make me a Lennon apologist as I've been called. because I've backed the manager, you know.
Yeah.
And another thing to compare, you know, I've seen a Cells for Change up on, someone made a Cells for Change poster. To compare the Cells for Change group that Matt McGlone and Brendan Sweeney were involved in when the club was going down the tubes, and John Keane underwrote £1 million cheque to save the club, and Fergus came in and, you know, built the stadium to what we had today. You cannot compare the Kellys Whites to what's happened to the club now.
No, not a chance.
You know,
Impossible.
So, you know, we and I've seen pictures of the boys when they wore the Sack the Board T-shirts on the terraces, you know, and they were protesting. And at that time, there were some fans criticised them, but at the end of the day, they got
the desired effect.
Yes, and it was a much more serious thing, Jim, than what's happening now. What's happening now is Rangers have improved, which doesn't help. But you must remember, Stephen Gerrard couldn't buy a win after they came back from Dubai last year. And all of a sudden, you know, I don't know what's going on at Rangers. Has he changed his coaching? Has he brought someone in? You know, has he recruited better? You know,
they might just be hungrier. They might just be hungrier every game. They're scoring goals for fun, to be fair. And the Celtic team now, they just don't look interested whatsoever.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that's my opinion, mate. You know that. It's everybody. Somebody else can have another one.
Of course, and it should be respected. Jim, while we're talking about Glasgow, I want to take you back home. A young Jim Reilly growing up in Glasgow and standing with fellow Celtic. Take us back.
I don't know. Like for Coatbridge is a big Celtic fan base. They're all Celtic mad, Coatbridge. And their local team's Albion Rovers. And we used to support Albion Rovers because my dad was a director at Albion Rovers. But then my dad passed on, and my mum didn't want us to go to Celtic and Rangers games, but at this time you'd no dad to tell you what to do. So you used to go to the Celtic games like when you're 9 and 10, and that was it. But I remember getting taken to the testimonials years and years ago, and that was the summer. I think Man United would always play, and I'd go to the terraces, and the terraces would be filled with beer cans. They'd sweep all the beer cans down, you know. But we've always, all of my mates, I've like some amount of mates back home who are like Celtic fans, and they have been, and supporters buses back home, we're on them. We played for teams called the Townhead Conley football team and stuff like that, just named after things. And I just actually seen pictures come up on my thing. Paul McStay was out in Coatbridge years ago. You'd remember the players used to get end of the season, who's the supporters bus player of the year, and you'd write down. And the players used to drive all over Scotland one Saturday night at the end of the season and make an appearance. You don't, they're too far, to me, they're too far detached from that now. But growing up watching Celtic, you always thought you were going to play for them, but it's never going to happen, was it? you always think.
Certainly not for me, Jim.
Everybody says that, like, oh, I'd love to play for Celtic, I'd be doing this, and give them a right leg and all that comes with it. But he just got up and we were going to the games, we're travelling all over Scotland, go to Europe and stuff like that. But it's something inside that you'll never lose, you know. And I've got a son out here, and he watches the Celtic games, you know. He's 16. He's been to a few games back home. Every time he goes home to Scotland, he always manages to get tickets for the games and stuff. So it's just like a progressional thing. My dad was a Celtic fan as well as an Albion Rovers man. It's obviously Coatbridge is, like, as I say, it's a big Celtic place, but you'd go to as many games as you could go in the season, you know.
I've been to the Albion Rovers. I've been a few. Patrick Rowland, when he was commercial director, he used to.
Yeah, I know Pat.
William McStay used to bring a team down, a youth team or a under 21 team, and that. We'd always go. I think one year we went on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, the Celtic first team played Parma at home, or something like that. So there was always, you know. It wasn't that we were travelling over to see a youth game. We're not that fanatical, but it was a great time. It's great to see these old grounds as well.
Yeah. Because Jock Stein played with Albion Rovers, as you know.
Yeah.
And they do that trophy every year still. The Jock Stein trophy. And it's all Celtic generally tend to send all the young boys reserves. I remember one time Thomas Gravison was playing in Albion Rovers. Did I remember? Thomas Gravison was playing that game.
I definitely wasn't at one with Thomas. I remember Adam Virgo. Do you remember him? I remember him playing in one. Yeah, he
played in one. And there's probably about 800 people turned up, and that was like, because Albion Rovers' ground, it's just the main stand. I think they've got a bit of standing area now, but it's generally the stand. But our family's been involved with Albion Rovers for 30 odd years now, you know. and we know part through that. Thomas Gravison was funny. Thomas Gravison, he's absolutely mad. But imagine going to Albion Rovers and you see Thomas Gravison playing with all these 18 and 19-year-olds, and it didn't even faze him. You know what you think he'd be? Because he was out of like favour by the manager at the time. Who was the manager at the time? Was it Strachan? I think it was Strachan, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that brings us back to, I didn't think it would bring us here. But Jim, that brings us to who signs the players at Celtic. Like, I know Martin O'Neill brought in his own players. I know that. But we've heard the Paddy McCord interview where he says Gordon Strachan didn't know who he was when he arrived, Now, he would have known who Thomas Gravison was when he arrived.
Yeah.
He certainly wasn't part of his plans, judging by what we've heard since.
No. But a lot of people, because there's always some. Because at the time they would take the league trophy up and they'd sit it in the boardroom, read it in the boardroom, and they'd be parading the trophy. Then they'd do it. But to see Thomas Gravison, it's probably one of the weird things you'll see in football. Yeah. A stadium, it's only got a stand open. You know what I mean? They're struggling for ball boys, and he's playing up there in a charity match, a friendly every year. Every
time I hear a player on a podcast or being interviewed and Thomas Gravins come up, the story's just that,
Yeah.
It was just a rocket, he just...
100% rocket. I don't even think he enjoyed football. He liked it, but it was probably into his hobbies, I mean, something into his hobbies. He got no his hobbies. Most people would have the football as a hobby, something else they do. He has his back to front, I think.
And that's a memory, right? Thomas Gravison playing against Albion Rovers and not being phased, not playing with the kids. Because I don't think Adam Vega was too happy to be playing with the kids.
No,
and in fairness to Adam, he wasn't as good a player as Thomas Gravison, and he doesn't have a CV like him. But you spoke there about early moments and that. Is there any memory, Jim, that sticks out from those young days for you in Celtic?
Oh, the young days, just like you used to jump on the train. Probably shouldn't say this, but there's that many Celtic fans. You'd never pay. We go off at Camptine or Belgrove, and you'd walk up to Celtic Park. You'd never pay in the train, so you'd get the train in, train back. My mum, she wouldn't even know we'd been at the games, But the Rangers games were something else, and years ago, and also I think probably one of the best, probably coming up, when we stopped 10 in a row, that was one of the craziest seasons ever, and probably one of the craziest days, That was 22 years ago now. That was one of the days that'll stick out my life for Celtic, going and watching them. Seville as well to an extent, but obviously the result went against us. But
were you still living? Were you still here during the Seville campaign?
Yeah, and I'd already been to Australia in '98, and I came back and I stayed another few years in Coatbridge. Then and we came back out to Australia in 2008. So I had the 2003, 4, 5, 6. Then we came away in 2008.
So, you came home for a fairly good period.
I know.
You spoiled yourself.
Then we go and get married. Get married at the V-Full, and then I thought I'll have another crack at this. And that's what we did.
But I'd say if you had been based in Sydney, you would have been on a plane to Seville.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I actually went with I'll tell you over the record a story about Seville when you come off.
Oh, okay, right. So it's not for public consumption.
No.
And I just said, you emigrated twice to Australia, and this time you've settled 12 years now. As I say, do you miss home and do you miss the match day?
That's the three things you miss: your family, match days, and your friends and match days. That's it. Nothing else. I don't miss the town of Coatbridge. It's always good for me to go back because I know a lot of people get it. You walk into any pub, there's always somebody who know you. Coatbridge is like that,
Yeah.
But I don't miss it that much. But see nowadays, if somebody told me 20 odd years ago that you'd be sitting on your phone, you'd be able to talk to your family, your friends back home in Scotland, face to face, you were told to sign yourself into the loony bin, But see nowadays, it's so easy to touch base with people back home. The time difference for us is a bit weird because people phone me and it's all generally during the night. What time's it there? I'm in my bed, have a guess. They always forget about the time difference. They say, I'll give Jim phone. It's generally they're all having parties and they'll phone you up. They think it's a great idea. It's like 3 a.m. Oh man. And you always get a fright because over here, phone calls, you always think at that time in the morning, oh no, something's bad's happened. And there's half a dozen of your mates on the gargle.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with friendly call at 4 a.m.
I know.
But it's grand. Like I find it's grand. Like you're coming to the end of your day. It's the evening for you. It's the start of the day for us here in Ireland and in Glasgow. So it's not too bad, because I've interviewed a couple of people in Australia, and if someone had told me, like when I started the fanzine 20 years ago, if someone told me we'll be able to interview players in Australia and fans in Australia, I'd be going, "Aye, right, you know." Like, if I said, like, you must remember, we were sending questions, you know, through the post and getting them back.
Yes, right.
And the first interview I done with a player was Tommy Gemmell, the Mercy and Tommy, and I don't know what a dictaphone, you know, and then I had to bring the dictaphone back, and I'm not a trained typist, so you know I had to keep rewinding it. And when I think back now, like, and you can press a button on your computer now, and it'll give you it'll give you a recorded interview.
I know, it's unbelievable.
And it's great as well for people abroad. But as well as that, for getting Celtic news, like you can imagine people that emigrated in the 60s and the 70s. No, they were waiting for newspapers or listening to the BBC World Service.
We speak to some of the older guys in the club, and they said they were getting videos sent over in the 80s and 90s. Videos for the previous week's games. Or they'd get them all. Or they'd have, been in somebody's house, they'd have the phone on. They'd have it on a speaker. And they'd listen to Radio Clyde, give the commentaries and that on games.
Jeez, I never heard that, Jim. That's brilliant.
No, that's true.
That's class.
I've got these Scottish guys. You see, they used to be sitting in that, and they'd have the phone on, and they'd all be sitting listening to the commentary. Their mum would put the phone up beside the radio and go on speaking and stuff.
That's just, you know what I mean?
I thought you would have known that one.
No, I didn't know that one, you know. And I've spoke to a lot, especially a lot of the boys in America, you know, but hey, they used to wait for the newspapers and, as I said, the BBC World Service. So you said there, Jim, that, you know, you miss your mates, you miss going to matches, but, you know, you miss your family, but Sydney is home now.
Sydney's home, yeah. I was supposed to go back to Scotland in September, but obviously COVID's put the knockers on that, and I don't think we're going to be allowed to leave Australia until probably towards the end of next year. We're locked here.
It's funny, Jim, when all this lockdown went in and the lads were advertising the Las Vegas convention, it was actually one of your boys, one of the Australian boys that, you know, commented, you know, we ain't getting out of Australia. And Australia is, you know, it looks from us, from looking on the outside, it's a lot further on from America and from Europe, as is New Zealand and parts of Asia. So it seems to be that they seem to have got it under control a lot quicker out your way than they have over our way.
It was only a few weeks ago that we couldn't literally leave New South Wales, the state. We couldn't leave the state. We were locked in the state because of the amount of cases. But I think we're open now. And as I said to my mate, I says, look, they sent us here as prisoners all the years ago. We're prisoners again. It's like, just came right round, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're prisoners still because we can't leave the place.
So you can't leave your state, am I right?
No, we can now. It's only last week the borders opened up again, but there's still conditions on it. There's only certain states that we can get in without self-isolating. We can't go to Western Australia. I'm sure we need to isolate for 2 weeks if you want to go meet your mates there. So what's the point?
At least you can move about. Over here, we've had a lockdown where there was nothing basically open. Then we opened up, and then they didn't open the pubs, but they opened the restaurants and then they opened the pubs, and within a couple of days they closed it down because I suppose there was a panic towards maybe not being open for Christmas. Now, they're going to open again for Christmas, and it looks like they're going to close again then after until we get a vaccine, Jim. And I've heard these people going on about vaccines that they wouldn't take, but Jim, I'll have a double shot of any vaccine if I can get back to watch Celtic.
Well, your man at the chairman of Qantas, he said he's hoping to be, if you don't have a vaccine, you won't be able to fly. He's telling us you will not be able to fly with Qantas, and other airlines will probably follow suit. You will not be able to fly unless you get a certificate of saying you've had the vaccine.
And Ryanair said the opposite over here. Ryanair said, you're on airplanes, no bother, as long as you pay.
As long as you pay.
And buy plenty of drink.
Yeah, madness. But it's just the whole thing. As I say, like, I think there's only a couple of states, because we weren't allowed to go to Victoria's just opened up there recently, you know, and that's there last week as well. Because I think they've had Sydney and everybody else has had 28 days, 30 days, like without any cases being found. So that's a good sign. So we're on the right road compared to like Scotland. So
that's a great sign, Jim. It is, and hopefully. Hopefully we can get this vaccine sorted. And I know I was joking there about getting back to see Celtic, but I have an 85-year-old dad, and my mum's 83, and it's just, you know, it's tough on them. Like it's like schools are back open, people are going back on a daily basis. But the older folks, there's a lot of loneliness as well for people.
Yeah, it'll be frightening for the older ones.
Yeah.
It'll be a bit frightening, I think. So a lot of older ones are on their own. They're not allowed to visit and stuff like that.
It's tough for them. But my dad would say to me, he said, "Will I ever get back to Spain again?" He's mad to go to the sun.
Oh, good on him. That's the way.
I said it to my brother, I says, he's mad to get back, He says, why wouldn't you be? He says, you can go to the pub every day. He said, you can't go.
That's true.
But Jim, we spoke about Vegas there, and we mentioned Thailand earlier on, supporters events. We could never imagine either that, the Celtic fans will be travelling all around the world to these events. And they are so important because I met you in Vegas. You introduced me to Willie Wallace, Lisbon Line, what an honour that was. Hopefully we'll get, we will get the chance to go back and do it all again. But any sign of maybe when this is all over, maybe having a bit of a gig for us over in Sydney to give us an excuse to go to the other side of the world.
Well, as I say, 2022, we're having a 40th anniversary. We're going to just invite all the clubs from around Australia. We'll put something on. We'll have a dinner dance on the Saturday, maybe. If we turn up the Friday, in the pubs or whatever, we'll have music. Fridays, Saturday, we'll have dinner dance. Sunday, maybe a boat cruise. Then everybody goes back home on the Monday.
So I may get to do the famous boat cruise.
Oh, you maybe, mate. I'll only have a word with the boys.
What month are you thinking of? Like you mentioned 2022. What month would you be mentioning? Because I'll be passing this.
It won't be Thailand. It won't be Thailand month. Don't worry. We've sorted that one out.
No. I'm just wondering when.
It's going to be October.
October. So October 2022, folks.
Yeah.
We could be all heading for Sydney. We'll be looking for cheap flights.
But you need a vaccine first.
I tell you. If we haven't the vaccine by then, Jim, I don't know what I'll do.
I think because we were going to have it we were going to have the anniversary the same time as the Vegas, but since Vegas had moved on, and we're still under the impression that Thailand's happening in 2022 again, is it?
But Jim, the way it is with Thailand is we're going to wait. You know yourself, it's a small festival. We're going to wait. We had a lot of problems the last time, obviously with COVID and that, but it was the first time as well, and we kind of went in a bit blind. We have looked at, a hotel where we can keep everything in-house and it'll be just for Celtic fans, a really good hotel. And that was kind of in place when we were over there the last time. But now it's all gone up in the air but if we can get back over and have a look and there's a vaccine, we hope to go ahead with this if we can get the support of the fans and if the fans want it. I know over here, all my mates and my own supporters club are all mad to get back, and there's been great support from Australia and New Zealand and that. So look, if the interest is there, Thailand will go ahead.
I think because we had a meeting last week and we were talking about it and that. I would definitely go back because apparently Thailand's opened up again, but it's only one flight a week.
Compared to Ireland, when we were in Thailand, they had the SARS virus, and I think they were a lot more ready for it than maybe Europe was. Because when I got when I was in Thailand, you had to wear a mask and into places, the hygiene, the temperature checks. When I came back to Ireland, they didn't come into place for a couple of months. Like when people used to look strange at me because I had a mask. So that was, and I think that should something like this happen again, God forbid, I think countries will be more ready for it. But anyway, look, let's not talk about COVID. You got me thinking there about Thailand and Sydney. I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited.
Well, it's always something to look forward to.
Now, Jim, right, we've a dead dog on Thursday after we exited the Europa League. Very disappointing. But I want to talk about something positive. I've had great stories from your supporters club about some of the great European nights and parties that left. I had Big Keith on, the rugby league player. He thought, and obviously one of my good friends over here is Bean O'Brien, and he walked over there as well, and he's told me some cracking stories, which is kind of why Sydney has been on my bucket list, because I'm getting old now. I'll be 50 next year, but I can still do a good party. Like I've been lucky enough that I've been, I was in Rome last year. We spoke about Seville. I was in Liverpool. I was in Celtic Park the night Nakamura scored the goal against Man United. These are all fantastic memories for me, Foley and Celtic. But when you're following from afar, Jim, these nights must be so special.
Yeah, probably the best night for us. Obviously, any cup final you win, but Barcelona, we beat Barcelona with Lennon charged 2-1. That was like, so the game kicked off, I think it was 5:45 in the morning or something, or 5:45, whatever time it was. And we were all there, and the place was absolutely heaving because it was 125th year anniversary, the same night, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the place, you couldn't move. It was like 5:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. The pub is absolutely jam-packed. You couldn't move, and the beer's flowing. The goals went in. Oh, it just went mental. And like, guys are getting home at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock that night from the morning. Never go to work the next day. It's just madness.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the better ones.
When you think of that night, Virgil van Dijk, the greatest defender in the world, we had him that night, a young Virgil van Dijk. Wanyama. I think Forster played. Did he? Was Forster a goalie?
No. Who was the goalie? That was Forster. Fraser Forster was a goalie because they called him the Great Wall, remember?
Yeah, there was, and then I think when we arrived in Glasgow that day, Conor was with me, my son. And Conor's 21 now, so he was probably maybe 13 at the time. He was a young teenager. But we got a minibus down from Edinburgh Airport with a couple of other fans, and as we drove by the Radisson Blue Hotel, just as we come on, just at the corner there, coming onto Hope Street, Messi walked out of the hotel, team bus was outside, and the excitement, you're like, someone said to me, Conor must be very excited. I says, no, he couldn't see. I pushed him out of the way. But yeah, that was an amazing night. I'd say a few years didn't go to walk after that.
No, not a chance. No way. Half of us don't even know how we go home.
Jim, like, the success we've had in recent years has been, it's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But at the moment, sadly, we're a divided club. Can we, how do you think we can unite as a support again and get this season turned around to some positivity?
Well, let's say there needs to be more talking done between everybody. We need to talk, from the top right down to the tea lady. We need to talk. We need to talk. There's no communication. There seems to be a breakdown somewhere, or something's getting bypassed, and they're going from one. You know what I'm saying? They're missing something out. There's something missing there, and it's obviously communication. And even get the fan supporters, get some of the supporters in, and let them hear what's happening. Tell them how they're going to move forward. But
and maybe let them come back to us then and give us some feedback and say, look, I totally agree, Jim. Yeah.
If you get everybody around the one table, you should all try and sing for the same hymn sheet. If everybody's in agreement, this is what to move forward. We need to do this. Fine, but you can't have one group saying this is what we want. You want that. Well, we're not happy with you. It doesn't work like that. Everybody needs to be in agreement.
Yeah, and if the club come out and said, look, because of COVID, we're going to have to downsize. And if they did come out and said, and this is why we're going to downsize, and what we're going to do is we can't afford to compete and we can't afford to spend this on wages. So what we're going to do is we're going to invest in the youth and we're going to try and bring a team through from a certain age. Like I suppose you go back to the Quality Street gang or something like that. We're going to bring a team through, and then you'd know, right? Well, look, that sounds okay. Let's give that a try. Yeah, we're going to be, if you think back to international football, Belgium were a great team when I was a kid, and then we didn't see them for years because they had ripped up the blueprint and created a new blueprint, and now they're one of the top teams in the world. But the fans had to go through years to get to where they are. But we do need, and like I remember the supporters groups used to meet with the board and come back and be able to speak to supporters clubs, and when supporters clubs would get together. Now, my supporters club is, I suppose, quite big for an Irish club, 120 season book holders. I'm not sure what the membership is, maybe 150. So we're not in any of the affiliations or the associations, and we never have. So we don't have really a representative, But there's a number of big clubs of that in Ireland, and they do communicate. I've been on Zoom calls with them, and Hilly, who runs our club, is in close contact with them. So there's a group of maybe 1,000 season book holders in them clubs, that maybe someone out of that could go to a meeting. Someone from the Celtic Trust, someone from all the associations, someone to represent the North American interest, someone to represent the boys down under. If someone was going and then maybe feeding back, and saying, look, this is how they're planning on moving forward. Now, everyone's not going to agree, but if there's a consensus, we can. Because at the moment, Jim, although we all went to bed, I've said it before, we go to bed a Celtic fan, we wake up a Celtic fan. But at the moment, it's toxic.
Yeah, it's bad. It is bad. It's not pretty to watch, and it's not pretty to read, and it's not pretty to see on social media.
No,
that's nothing at all.
Of course it's not. Jim, I hope your knee gets better.
Me too.
And I hope you're bouncing around. We're all bouncing around Sydney, Thailand, Glasgow, or wherever we go.
We will.
I need to earn a few bob, I think, before, because I'm dreaming of all these trips. But as I said, I'm going to be 50 next year, and I'm going to be 25 years married, so it's a great excuse for a good holiday.
Oh, yeah. You might just get yourself to one of these places soon.
Well, so Australia's always been on the bucket list, but you know, I think the wife was hoping I'd get shipped over there and maybe wouldn't come back, give her a bit of peace. But look, Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. It's amazing with technology how we can do this. And it is the morning after the game before, because we're pre-recording this one for the podcast because of the time difference and what have you. But Jim, all I can say is enjoy a beer. I'll enjoy one here, and hopefully soon we'll enjoy one together.
Yep, mate. You too. Pleasure to talk to you again.
No, it's been a pleasure getting a point of view, and especially getting a point of view from someone so far away who loves the club. Always great to catch up with a Celtic fan and someone that you haven't seen in a while. So it's great to chat to Jim again. Celtic support is spread around the world, and it's always great to hear the fan stories and what their match day experience is, no matter where they are, especially when they're so far away from paradise. I have to say, you have to be impressed with the way they run the club and how they keep the Celtic family together out there. Pure quality. Now, here I go with my little sell and spiel. Thanks to everyone who bought the latest issue of More Than 90 Minutes, issue 111, hard to believe, I suppose. In a world which is dominated by digital media, it's so good to still be able to produce the print copy, and we can only do that with your support, especially with no match day sales anymore. There's still a handful of copies left of the current issue, and we're starting work this week on issue 112, which should be interesting, of the columns and opinion pieces that are coming in at the moment from the team. You can also download the digital edition of the fanzine from CelticFanzine.com. Anyone taking out a 12-month subscription will receive a free t-shirt, and if you just want a 3-month subscription, we'll post off a free badge in the post. As a thank you for your continued support, all subscribers will also get a digital copy of each issue while they wait for the print copy to drop through the letterbox, and access to all our back issues. And of course, if you're not into the print media and you're a bit modern, you can also subscribe for the digital issue, and that drops into your inbox about 5 days before the print copy. You can visit our online shop to have a look at our t-shirt and merchandise, and we'll post out all orders which come in before noon, as I said, every day. With each episode of the podcast, we will throw out a special offer for the listeners. This episode, you can buy one of our hoodies, and we'll throw in a free t-shirt, and all the details are on our podcast description. As always, thanks to Ronan McQuillan for producing the show and his growing interest in the Celtic fan base around the globe, and helping me pronounce some of these strange towns and cities that you're listening to the podcast.
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. So folks, if you like what we're doing and you'd like to support us, you can do so by visiting CelticFanzine.com, where you can become a member, subscribe, buy or donate for the price of a pint. We're promising no unwanted Google type adverts on the website and in our articles, and no unwanted advert interruptions on our podcast. We want to try and keep it real. We definitely want to keep it independent. Your support helps us to continue to produce quality independent fan journalism, podcasts, video content, live events when we can get back, which hopefully is going to get sooner now with the vaccines coming out. I've already ordered a double with my GP. I have no problem. I'll even be a guinea pig if they want, just so I can get back to watch the Celtic. So folks, if you're not in a position to financially support us at this time, don't worry. We'll still deliver the same quality content, free to all fans. And don't forget to download the app. That's free too, and you'll have access to all our podcasts, articles, daily news, video, events, and of course the fanzine and our online shop, all at the touch of a button on your phone or tablet. All episodes of the podcast are now available across all major platforms, so don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button so you never miss an episode. You can also listen to the podcast on our Instagram page. Thank you, Aaron, for your help as always. And don't forget to visit and follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Once again, thanks to our episode sponsor, Auto Assurance Dundalk, for the continued support. And don't forget, we'll post up all their details on a description on the podcast. So, if your business or Celtic Supporters Club like the podcast and would like to become a sponsor, please email us at info@celticfanzine.com, and you can also contact us through the website or message us on social media. Keep all the comments coming in and keep all the suggestions coming in for guests you'd like us to have on the show. Here's a few of the comments that came in after the last podcast. I may be biased because I'm Milish's friend, but I enjoyed those two great interviews. Hilly, regular listener, former guest on the show, and as I said, very biased. Celtic Soul, great podcast. Dave Matthews and Drada. Thank you for the invite to the interview. It was a very emotional moment for me. It was a time of my life which I haven't spoken about in a long time. Take care and see you soon back in Glasgow. Mimo Rossi, living in Glasgow, but with his heart firmly in Naples. Well done, Linda, on the Celtic Soul podcast, Wesley Doyle, Dublin. Thank you so much for the interview, which I really enjoyed, and thank you for highlighting our plight. Up the workers. And that's from Linda Carroll, who was our guest with Mimo on the last podcast. Fantastic interview, Andrew, and brilliant support for the ex-Debenham workers. 233 days on the picket line across Ireland and battling for justice. Boycott Debenhams. Suzanne Sherry, who is also one of the strikers. Well, thanks to Suzanne and everyone else for the comments, and keep them coming in. We will be back with another episode on Friday of the Celtic Soul podcast in the aftermath of the AC Milan game, which the Italians need to win, and at the moment Celtic can't win an argument. How different would it be if there was 10,000 to 15,000 of us in Milan, a city we have visited so many times? We haven't got great results in it, but we've had happier times, and I suppose in more normal times we would all be there, enjoying the crack, enjoying the points, enjoying the Italian food, and enjoying the back in the team, because we would no matter what. I don't think we're going to witness an early Christmas miracle in the San Siro, but I'll be watching as I did on Sunday. But I don't think I will be as shocked as I was during those 90 minutes. We can play for pride. The players can play for Neil Lennon. He's still the manager. He still should be back 100% until the board decide that it's time for change or they're going to stay with him. But I would love the board to come out and give us some information instead of feeding it out to hacks in the press. Just the silence remains deafening. Anyway, folks, enjoy the rest of the week. The pressure remains on Lenny. Not sure if the players are feeling the same pressure. Well, not some of them anyway. Ross County and the League Cup is gone, and that amazing domestic cup run. But as I said, the board are silent, and only two men can change what's happening at Celtic regarding personnel, the recruitment policy, and the future direction of Celtic. And that's Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell. We want to lend our support to musicians and songwriters out there who have been hit so hard by the lockdown restrictions. No gigs and no venues. So we're asking you to send your material, and we give you a plug on the show and play out of each show with one of your tracks. Today we play out the previously unreleased song from Kieran Davenport, which was recorded live the night before Celtic played Leipzig in happier times. The gig was packed out in Berlin's SOS 36, a very famous venue where he also recorded the album. For more information on Kieran and his band Glasnevin, visit glasnevin1916.bigcartel.com, where you can support the band, buy albums and merchandise. You can also hear them on platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, etc. And we'll have all the details on the podcast description. Stay tuned, stay safe, and keep the faith. And here's Kieran playing out with Inter Milan when Celtic were the kings of Europe after they came out of some tough years in the 1950s and the early 1960s. Faithful true and true then, folks, and we're faithful true and true now.
We all set out from Dublin town, Carlton and from County Down, Cork, York and Glasgow, from Boston and Chicago. We all got on the aeroplane and all Italia's greatest names landed up in Portugal to take on Glasgow Celtic. Everything was going to plan when Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. 'Twas on the 25th of May, the kids all had a holiday. Sun was shining down and all the windows, they were open. Some watched in the Squirrel's Bar, Lynch's and in Denny's Bar. Some watched down in Traders and some in Derry Trainers. Everyone was a Celtic fan when Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. Well, Celtic went out to attack, soon got caught out at the back of the big Mazzol had to slot away a penalty. Celtic rallied to the call, Tactical well with the ball, until we're so fortunate to be one of our half-time. Said catch us if you can, when Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. Well, the second half got underway, Celts put on a great display of attacking football that made Inter run for cover. Gable brought his level and the cup was surely settled. In a shot from Bobby Murdoch was deflected in by Chalmers, and the score line read 2-1 when Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. Well, we all went out to celebrate. The bus came down the Gallagate. Onto Celtic pub to hail a lorry load of heroes. European Cup display, Celtic gave our victory way. Everyone was singing, we're the champions of Europe, and Chuck Steed is a man. When Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. When Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. When Glasgow Celtic beat Inter Milan. 2-1. Cheers.